They say when life hits you, it doesn't knock first. But what do you do when every door slams shut at once, and the only way out feels like a free fall into nothing? That's what I was asking myself the moment I saw her, Olenka, standing at our doorstep, holding a tiny suitcase and a trembling voice. It started months earlier, back when everything still looked normal. My name's Victor. I had a good job, a stable marriage, at least on paper, and a decent life. But my heart had other plans. Olenka was different. She wasn't polished like my wife, Irina. She was raw, young, filled with dreams, and utterly broken. That combination, it pulled me in like a drug. And I didn't even try to resist. She was just 20. Failed her entrance exams for the Language Institute. Didn't tell her parents. Stayed in town. Became a tutor just to scrape by. That's how we met. I asked her to help my wife improve her English. The irony stings now. But back then, it felt harmless. At first, it was just glances. A lingering look here, a comment there. Then it escalated fast. And suddenly, I was sneaking out during lunch breaks, visiting Olenka in her rented room in that crumbling dorm. She wasn't just a fling. I told myself I loved her. Maybe I did. Or maybe I just loved that she needed me. One night, everything changed. Irina came home early. I wasn't there. Olenka was. Teaching, she said. But my wife, she's sharper than most. Confrontation erupted like wildfire. I tried to contain it, but Olenka, poor, desperate Olenka, snapped. She accused Irina of knowing everything. Told her about the affair. About us. I'd never seen Irina like that. Her pride shattered in an instant. She screamed. Threatened to call the police. Olenka ran out, humiliated. But somewhere in her heart, I think she believed that this meant we were finally free to be together. But that was never the plan. Not really. Olenka began to fall apart after that. Lost her job. Couldn't pay rent. The landlady threatened to kick her out. She came to me for help, for safety. And I told her to wait. That I'd figure things out. But honestly, I was scared. Terrified. Not of losing Irina. I think that ship had already sailed, but of taking responsibility for the mess I'd created. Then Olenka dropped a bomb. She was pregnant. I stared at her in disbelief, heart pounding in my ears. She stood there, hands shaking, whispering it like a confession. And I told her I needed time, that I had to think. Time, I found, is never on your side when you're drowning in secrets. Irina found out. I still don't know how. But she came to me that night, calm too calm. She said she knew everything. About the affair. About the baby. She even laughed, as if it were some cruel cosmic joke. And then she said the words that still echo in my mind. Let her have it. Let her carry it. We'll take it when it's born. I stared at her, stunned. What are you talking about? She leaned in and said, you got her into this. Now make it worth something. It was never about forgiveness. It was about control. Irina wanted to adopt the baby, to raise it as her own. She said it would save our marriage, that it would be a second chance. But deep down, I knew this was her revenge. She even spoke to Olenka, invited her over, made her tea, called her dear. It was surreal. Olenka was nervous, fragile, sitting like a guest of honor in a trap she couldn't see. And when Irina offered money in exchange for the child, Olenka's hands started to shake again. I don't know, she said. I have to think. That was the last time they spoke civilly. Olenka fled that night, and I chased after her, desperate to keep it all from falling apart. I found her days later, staying with a friend. She looked thinner, worn, eyes hollowed out. She said the stress was killing her, that she couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I asked her what she wanted. I want this baby, she said, but I want a life too. And for the first time, I realized how much she had lost, and how much I had taken. But it was too late to undo it. That's when the threats started. A man named Shavkat showed up at her dorm. Said she owed him money. $10,000. Something about a missing market payment. He pushed her. Called her a liar. She ran, but he followed. That night, Olenka called me sobbing. They said if I don't pay, they'll make me disappear. I knew I had to act. Irina didn't care. She said it wasn't her problem, but it was mine. I got her into this. I had to get her out. I met Shavkat in a parking lot. He was bigger than I expected. Cold eyes. Heavy breath. I offered him money, $3,000 up front. He laughed. That's a down payment, he said. You want the problem to go away? Make it 10. I agreed. I would have done anything to protect her. But what I didn't know then was that Olenka had a plan of her own. After I paid off Shavkat, at least for the moment, I thought things might settle down. Naive, I know. With people like Olenka, peace is just the eye of the storm. She disappeared again after our last call. Her number stopped working. She wasn't at her dorm. I tried calling her friend Sasha, but she wouldn't pick up. The silence was maddening. I told myself she just needed space. After all, who wouldn't? She was pregnant, scared, betrayed, and now being hunted by debt collectors because of me. The guilt burned in me like acid. But still, I had to keep living my normal life. I had work, a home that wasn't really a home anymore, and a wife who had now taken an eerie interest in my every move. Irina started redecorating the guest room. Baby blue. A crib. Little teddy bear decals. She showed me ultrasound photos, ones Olenka had sent her directly. I stared at her in disbelief. She trusts me now, Irina said, smiling like the devil herself. She knows we'll give her child a better life. I couldn't believe it. Somehow, my wife had convinced Olenka to hand over the baby. It was surreal, but I wasn't buying it. Olenka was smart, manipulative even. She wouldn't give up her child that easily unless she had another plan. Weeks passed. I got no answers. Then one afternoon, Olenka showed up at my office. Her belly was already showing. She wore a cheap coat, dark circles under her eyes, and a fire in her voice I hadn't heard before. We need to talk, she said. I cleared the room, pulled the blinds, and sat down across from her. She didn't cry, didn't tremble. I want out, she said. Out of what? I asked. This whole circus, she snapped. I'm tired. I'm not strong enough for these games. I want to leave the city. Start over somewhere no one knows me. I was quiet. And I need money, she added. How much? $5,000. I sighed. You know, I don't have that kind of cash lying around. I know you do, she said. And if you don't, your wife does. She can afford baby cribs and designer maternity clothes. She can afford to pay the real mother. I stared at her. So that's what this is about now? A payout. Her jaw clenched. You think this is easy for me? You think I don't cry every night because I'm alone and carrying a child no one seems to actually care about? If your wife wants to play perfect stepmother, fine. Let her. But I'm done being your mess. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Because she was right. So I said I'd get the money. The next day, I brought up the idea to Irina. Pitched it as support for Olenka to keep her quiet and cooperative. She wants $5,000? Irina scoffed. Fine. Give it to her. Just make sure she doesn't screw up the paperwork. That's when Irina revealed her endgame. A surrogacy contract. Legally binding. No loopholes. She signs over all rights, and once she gives birth, the child is mine and legally yours too, she said. You're not serious. I've never been more serious. You think I'm raising someone else's child without guarantees? This is business, Victor. I felt sick, but I nodded. A few days later, we met Olenka at a neutral location, some shady notary's office near the train station. She read the contract in silence, then looked up and said, 7. I want 7,000. Don't push it, Irina snapped. Olenka shrugged. Fine. Then I keep the baby. Irina turned to me with fire in her eyes. I gave in. We handed over the first half in cash. The rest would come after birth. And with that, Olenka became the invisible womb of our so-called second chance. But something about the way she smiled when she walked out that door stuck with me. It wasn't relief. It was satisfaction. She was playing us. I could feel it. But I had no idea how deep her game went until the court summons arrived. It was Irina. She was suing me for divorce, citing infidelity, breach of trust, and emotional damage. I laughed at first, thought it was a bluff, a power move. But she was serious. I'm taking everything, she said. But what about the baby? I'll let the court decide, she replied, with DNA tests and witness statements. That's when it hit me. She never planned to raise that child. She just wanted revenge. I was served paperwork the next day, enlisted as a witness, Olenka. I called her. She didn't answer. I drove to her dorm. She was gone. Finally, Sasha messaged me. She's not talking to anyone. Just leave her alone. You've done enough. Done enough? I had no idea just how much damage I'd done until the final blow came. That morning in court, as we waited for proceedings to begin, Irina leaned over and whispered, "Hope you enjoyed your moment, darling. Because I'm about to take it all." But Olenka didn't show up. Instead, the judge read a statement she had submitted. A medical confirmation. She terminated the pregnancy 2 weeks ago, the judge announced. Irina gasped. What? That's not possible. I stood frozen. She received payment from both parties, the judge continued. But no child exists. Case dismissed. Irina erupted in fury. She took our money. She lied. I wanted to scream too. But deep down, I almost admired Olenka. She played both of us, outmaneuvered every trap, escaped the hell we dragged her into. And when the courtroom emptied, and I stepped out into the cold hallway, a message popped on my phone. We're even now. Oh. I stared at it for a long time, and then I deleted her number. You'd think that after the courtroom chaos, everything would settle. You'd be wrong. After the judge announced Olenka had terminated the pregnancy and effectively played both me and Irina like chess pieces, the fallout was swift and merciless. Irina went nuclear. Not just emotionally, but legally, financially, and publicly. She froze our joint accounts. She revoked my company access. Overnight, I became a guest in my own life. You let a girl half your age destroy our marriage, our reputation, and our future. She spat at me the day I returned to find my clothes boxed up in the foyer. You deserve nothing. I didn't even argue. She was right. But something still didn't sit right with me. Olenka's message, "We're even now," kept echoing in my mind. Was this truly even? After all the manipulation, lies, and betrayal? Was she really free of this mess? Or had she simply hit pause? I had to find her. Not because I wanted her back. That bridge was ash and rubble. But because I needed answers. I tried Sasha again. She finally answered, though her voice was colder than ice. She doesn't want to see you, she said. She's done with both of you. You used her. I just need to talk to her. One time. Please. Silence. Okay, she said at last. But not because she owes you anything. It's because she deserves to say what she needs to your face. She sent me an address. It was a tiny cafe on the outskirts of the city. Neutral territory. Public. Safe. When I walked in, I almost didn't recognize Olenka. She looked calm. No makeup. Simple clothes. No panic in her eyes. Just quiet resolve. She sipped her coffee as I sat across from her. Before you say anything, she began, let me talk. I nodded. You and your wife treated me like a pawn. One of you with money and manipulation, the other with sweet words and empty promises. Both of you needed something from me. Not me. Just what I could provide. She leaned forward. But I'm not a pawn. I'm not some walking womb. And I'm not stupid. I never thought you were, I said. She laughed bitterly. Yes, you did. That's why you thought I'd just hand over a child and vanish. Her eyes locked onto mine. No hate. Just brutal honesty. I had that abortion the same week you handed me the money. I knew I wasn't going to let either of you win. I wanted out. That was the only way. You could have just told us, I muttered. Would you have let me go that easily? Would Irina? Touché. You know, she added, stirring her coffee, for a moment, I actually believed you loved me. I did, I said softly. She looked at me for a long moment. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of me. The escape. The thrill. But love? Real love doesn't leave someone alone, pregnant, and terrified. She stood up. This is the last time we'll ever see each other. I just wanted you to hear it. From me. As she turned to leave, I called out, Where will you go? She paused, then looked over her shoulder. Somewhere no one lies. And she was gone. I sat there, staring at her untouched cup across from me. She had won. Not in a triumphant, victorious way, but in a quiet, dignified way that left me feeling smaller than ever. The fallout from the court case lingered for weeks. Irina began spreading rumors, painting herself as the wounded wife betrayed by a gold-digging manipulator and a midlife crisis-having husband. It worked. Our friends distanced themselves. Clients bailed. Even my mother stopped returning calls. I was toxic now. A man who gambled with lives and lost everything. I rented a shoebox apartment, got a dead-end consultancy gig, and learned to live with silence. Then, months later, a letter arrived. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a single ultrasound photo. A new one. Dated just 2 weeks ago. And a sticky note. You were wrong. Oh. I stared at it for hours. Was it hers? Was she pregnant again? Was it someone else's child? Was it even real? No way to tell. No number. No follow-up. Nothing. Just a lingering question, hanging over me like a ghost. Was she playing one final game? Or was this her way of saying she'd started over, on her terms? I'd never know. And maybe that's what hurt most. It had been nearly a year since I last saw Olenka, and I thought that was the end of the story. But stories like hers, they don't just end. They evolve. They twist, they return, and they demand to be heard. I found out what happened next by complete accident. I was scrolling through a local news site, hoping to distract myself from another failed job interview, when I saw a headline. Underdog teacher launches free English program for women in crisis. The photo below was unmistakable. Olenka. She looked radiant. Not glamorized, not made up, but real. Confident. Alive. She had started a nonprofit English tutoring program for single mothers, survivors of abuse, and women coming out of shelters. Funded by donations and run from the basement of an old community library. I couldn't believe it. This was the same girl who once cried herself to sleep in my car. The same girl who was backed into a corner, used, lied to, humiliated. And now, she was thriving? I clicked on the interview. Olenka's voice was calm, measured, but passionate. I started this because I was once in their place, she said. I know what it feels like to be alone, desperate, and ashamed. But I also know the power of reclaiming your life. Language saved me. It gave me freedom. I want to give that to others. The article went on to mention small grants she'd received, how she was working with local shelters, how women were lining up to take her classes, how lives were changing. I sat there, speechless. She had found purpose, redemption, while I was still stuck, angry at the world and myself. But the real twist came 2 days later. Irina showed up at my door. Yes, her. Hair immaculate, heels echoing down the hallway, the scent of money and judgment arriving 5 seconds before she did. What do you want? I asked, arms crossed. Have you seen the news? She asked, ignoring my question. She's everywhere now. She deserves it. She played us, Irina snapped. Both of us. She manipulated you, she humiliated me, and now she's profiting off it. She's helping people, Irina. Not everything is about you. Oh, don't be naive, she hissed. This is PR, sympathy capital. She's selling her victimhood like it's merchandise. She's the only one who walked out of this whole mess with any integrity. Her lips tightened. She sent me a letter. I blinked. What? She thanked me. I stared. What? She thanked me for the betrayal, for the chaos, for making her strong enough to become the woman she is now. Can you believe that? I didn't answer. And then, she added, eyes narrowing, she told me to let go, to stop clinging to what could have been, because nothing we built was real. She's right, I said quietly. Irina's mouth opened, then shut. For once, she had nothing to say. She turned to leave. At the door, she paused. She still haunts you too, doesn't she? Yes, I said, but not the way you think. She left without another word. A few weeks later, I did something reckless. I went to Olenka's center. I told myself I was just curious, that I wanted to see the place. Maybe drop off a donation. Maybe just witness the life she'd built. The room was small but filled with warmth. Handwritten posters on the wall. Old desks lined up with donated books. A kettle humming in the corner. Women of all ages sat around a table, practicing phrases. Laughter mixed with shyness. Pain mixed with hope. And there she was, at the front, guiding them with gentle patience. I didn't approach her. I just watched, invisible, from the doorway. But she saw me. Our eyes locked for a second. She didn't smile. She didn't frown. Just acknowledge me. Like a page in a chapter long turned. I left before the session ended. Outside, the wind felt colder than before. But not because I was angry or jealous. Because I finally understood something. Olenka had walked through hell, ours, hers, the world's, and she didn't just survive it. She used it. She burned it into fuel. And in doing so, she became untouchable. Not hardened. Not bitter. Just invincible. I never thought things would spiral so far out of control. That a girl I once met as a broke, quiet English tutor would grow into the storm that now controlled my entire life, my wallet, my name, and even my future. After that courtroom disaster, when Irina left with her head high and I walked away with nothing but a shredded reputation, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't the puppet master, I was the puppet. I thought I was clever. I thought I was in control. But I wasn't. I was just another fool who got outplayed. Olenka disappeared. No calls. No texts. No way to find her. She vanished like smoke, leaving me to deal with the fire. The next morning, I got a call. The voice was flat. Cold dot. 3 days, it said. Then pray your bones heal easy. It wasn't a prank. Shavkat didn't play games. Olenka knew exactly who to leave holding the bag, and I'd signed that cursed IOU like an idiot. I panicked. Reached out to Irina. She picked up after the third ring. Yes, Victor. Calm. Detached. Like I was some telemarketer. You knew, I said. You knew she'd trap me. That she'd make me liable for everything. And didn't you trap her first? She replied, then hung up. I sat there, phone buzzing in my hand. Dead silent. I had one chance left. There was this place at the train station where Alinka used to hang out when she was too broke to go home. I went there, and by some miracle, she was sitting on a bench, sipping cheap tea from a vending machine, scribbling something in a notebook. Like the last 6 months hadn't happened. I walked up slowly. We need to talk, I said. She didn't flinch. What about, Victor? The loan sharks? The unborn child? Or how you crushed someone's life because you got bored at home? I paused. I tried to help you, I said. No, you helped yourself, she snapped, her eyes suddenly burning. You didn't see a person in me. You saw an escape. A vacation from your hollow marriage. A fling with a convenient expiration date. I gave you money, for what? Silence? Disappearance? You wanted me gone, and I gave you that. But I also gave you a mirror. She looked straight into my soul. The same girl who once couldn't meet my eyes in the kitchen now stared at me like she'd already buried me in her past. I lost that baby, Victor, she said quietly. Because of you. Because of the stress. Because of your schemes, your secrets, your dirty hands dragging me into places I never belonged. My breath caught. She continued. You know what's the saddest part? I believed you once. When you said you'd leave Irina. When you said you loved me. And now here we are, two cowards in an empty station, talking like strangers. I sat down beside her, hands trembling. I'm sorry, I whispered. Not for what I said, but for what I didn't have the guts to do. She gave a faint smile. But it wasn't kind. Apologies don't change the past. And they don't erase $10,000 in debt. I can't pay them. Well, she said, standing up, then maybe it's time you start selling lies again. You're good at that. She walked away. I stayed frozen for a while, staring into the fading daylight. That night, I received another call. Time's up, the voice said. No emotion. Just a deadline. I showed up the next day, alone, ready to beg, maybe even plead. But as I approached the cafe where they told me to meet, I saw Alinka, already sitting with them, laughing. And then I understood. She hadn't vanished. She wasn't afraid. She orchestrated this entire ending, played us all like a violin. I left without saying a word. Sometimes, defeat doesn't come with a gun or a threat. It comes with a soft laugh from the person you underestimated. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't lost her. I'd lost to her.